Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm so glad that you're here. I cannot believe that June's already over and done. I feel like June just flew by, and honestly, I did not read that much. So hopefully this video is pretty short and digestible for everyone. Usually at the beginning of every month, I set a task for myself to finish certain books, and let me just say I did not finish the task for this month. I did read 5 books, one of them being a short story, so maybe 4 books if you want to not count that one. I still had a decently successful month when it comes to my reading journey, but I did not accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. I still want to share the books that I read with you because some of them I really enjoyed and some of them I had different thoughts on. Make sure that you stick around for the last book because it's probably the one that I was most conflicted about, and it's probably the most popular book on BookTube right now. I honestly still don't really know how I feel about it, but I have a lot of thoughts, so just wait until the end. Let's just get onto it. I'm going to go through these books in the order that I read them. So starting off with Animal Farm. This one I'm sure a lot of people have read when they were in either middle school or high school. I didn't get the chance to read this classic when I was in school, so I just wanted to pick it up this month. I'm really glad that I did. I feel like it was a really easy read, but also made me think a lot. Essentially, if you don't know what this book is about, it's by George Orwell, and it explores a group of animals who overthrow their human owner, hoping to create a society built on equality. As new leaders rise to power, their dream slowly transforms into something that looks eerily similar to the oppression that they escaped from. I really enjoyed this story. I actually gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I don't know if I would have had the same reaction if I was in school, so I guess I'm glad that I waited to read this. It was also really quick. It's pretty short. I think it was about 200 pages, if not less or a little bit more. I loved how George Orwell explored propaganda and power and how easily people can be manipulated. I saw a lot of parallels between things that are happening now or 50 years ago or 100 years ago, and it just interesting how history does repeat itself. In my opinion, this book did a really good job at breaking down why certain things like this do happen in society. I highly recommend this book if you haven't read it. It's a really quick read, and I feel like you might appreciate it because it still feels relevant today, even though it was written so long ago. But I guess that's why classics are classics, because they can stand the test of time. Moving on to the next one. My next read was Upgrade by Blake Crouch. I have already read Recursion by him, so this is my second novel that I read from him. I have a couple of thoughts on this one. I really loved the themes that were explored in this book, but I feel like certain elements should have been explored further. Just a quick synopsis on what this book is about. It's obviously a sci-fi novel, so it explores technology and futuristic dystopian themes. After a genetic experiment permanently alters his DNA, Logan gains extraordinary mental and physical abilities. He encounters a dangerous conspiracy, and he has to decide how far humanity should go in order to try to improve itself. I really loved the first half of this book. I thought the premise was incredibly original and interesting, and I really appreciated the questions it asked about humanity and upgrades and what it means to upgrade ourselves. Around about the halfway point, though, the story started to feel a little bit repetitive, and I found myself disconnecting from a lot of the characters. It felt like Logan became almost invincible, which took away a lot of the tension from the story, and I'm sure it played out more realistically if this technology was around, but it took away some of the conflict that you would look for in a novel, especially in the later chapters. Thankfully, though, the final chapter and the epilogue really pulled it back together for me, and I feel like the ending of the book was pretty strong, so if you're interested in picking this up, I really recommend just staying until the end because I did think that was worth it. Overall, I really did enjoy this book. I just wish the second half had been a little bit stronger and just more conflict added to it. One more thing I want to say about this novel, it really did remind me of the show Chuck. I'm not sure if any of you have seen it, but essentially the premise of the show is basically this guy named Chuck, and he gets an email from an old roommate or classmate of his, and he opens it and it's just a bunch of government secrets that are shown to him, and then it starts to rewire his brain. The FBI and CIA track him down and basically use him for his government secrets, and if you have watched the show and continue on, you will know what I'm talking about when it comes to the upgrade. It did feel like it resembled that story a lot, but obviously Chuck is more playful with it, and it is more of an action comedy show in my opinion, but this one is more science fiction, so it was very science heavy. If you did like that show, you might appreciate this book, so just keep that in mind if you are interested in picking it up. The third book that I read this month, which I'm sure some of you have seen in my other video, is The Boyfriend by Freida McFadden. I honestly use Freida McFadden books as cleansers throughout my months because they're really, really good palate cleansers for me, as well as a good book to get out of a slump. The synopsis of this book is, after meeting the perfect man, a woman begins to suspect that something isn't quite right beneath his charming demeanor. As more secrets come to light, the truth becomes more dangerous than she imagined. And that's all I'm going to say because I really like going to thrillers blind, and I feel like that's all you really need to know to get into it. I feel like she's a really good author to hook you right in the beginning, and her chapters are really short, so it feels like you're reading faster. I actually enjoyed this book more than I thought I was going to. I feel like sometimes I like her novels, but they're not super surprising because I've read so many of them. But this one had some really good twists in there that I really appreciated. I feel like the characters were completely unhinged, and honestly the best way possible. I feel like it really kept my interest, even though it did feel a little creepy at times. Once the secrets started to reveal themselves, I feel like I was really hooked, and I definitely didn't predict everything, so I feel like if you're hesitating on this book because you might feel like it might be very similar to the other novels, I feel like there were enough twists in this one where you might not be able to predict everything, but that's just me. I think I rated this book 4 out of 5 stars. I was fully going into it expecting that it was going to be a solid 3-star for me, but it did surprise me and I really enjoyed it. The next read for the month of June was actually almost like a short story. I'm not sure if this is considered a novella or a short story because it doesn't really connect to anything, but it is Death Row by Freida McFadden. I actually really enjoyed this up until the epilogue. That is very different for me to say. The basic gist of the story is that a woman wakes up on death row with no memory of how she got there and only hours before her execution. As she pieces together what happened, the truth becomes more and more shocking than she ever expected. I definitely thought it was very entertaining the whole time. I think it only really took me an hour and a half to read. If you have some time in your hands and you want to read it, I would recommend it. But just be warned that I feel like the epilogue really does take you out of the story. I don't really want to speak further on this one because I don't want to spoil anything. If you are interested in reading this story, it is definitely full of twists and secrets. I feel like the final twist at the end just made me not appreciate the story as much as I wanted to. But other than that, I really did have a good time. It was only an hour and a half that I spent on it, so I'm not complaining about too much. I definitely think that if this was a longer novel and that was the ending, I would rate it 2 stars, so just keep that in mind. And the final book that I have read this month is Yesteryear by Caro Burke. I don't even know where to start with this book. I actually didn't rate it for a long time, and I'm going to tell you why. But before we get into that, I'm going to share with you a quick synopsis of what this book is about. Essentially, the story follows Natalie Heller Mills, who is a popular tradwife influencer and suddenly wakes up in the 19th century and must navigate life without modern society. That synopsis really hooked me in. I really was excited for this book. I almost have 2 separate reviews based on how you look at the story. I am thinking about making a full video just dedicated to me analyzing this book, especially as a Christian, so if you are interested in watching that video and want a deeper dive into the novel, please comment below because I would love to make that. I definitely have a lot to talk about. As of right now, I do want to keep it brief just for the sake of this video. I think initially when I first finished this book, I didn't know what to rate it. I slept on it for a couple of days, and when I returned to try to make a rating, I rated it just a simple 3 stars. From the storytelling perspective, I thought it was very fast-paced, engaging, and incredibly easy to read. I never knew where the story was going, and I did not expect the ending at all. But from a Christian perspective, I did have a lot of reservations. The main character is presented as a Christian trying to uphold traditional values, yet her actions consistently contradict her beliefs. And I don't think the novel clearly depicts what it means to be a Christian, and it was just honestly very hypocritical. I know that it is a satire, so before you come for me, I did know what I was getting myself into with this book, but I still feel like some of the things that were explored in this book were very disrespectful to my faith. One of the things that really upset me throughout is that whenever she would pray, she would curse and then just ask for forgiveness without true repentance. She would constantly do this over and over again, and it just didn't feel like it was genuine at all. There was also a scene in around 65 to 70% of the book where Natalie was describing her intimate life with her partner and how she was dissatisfied. And then she started to bring God in a sexual context, and I really did not like that. I honestly was almost thinking of just putting it down and not picking it up. That would definitely be disrespectful in every single religion, and I don't really tolerate that one. I think that was very uncomfortable for me. I did push through just because I was so close to finishing and I really wanted to know how it ended. Another thing that really bothered me was just the whole traditional values outlook. It was very clear from the very beginning that Natalie didn't actually exhibit these ideas and these values, so obviously that's where the satirical point of view comes in. I know that that was a big theme that the author tried to explore, and I'm actually really appreciative that she did explore the whole concept of exploiting your children and your family and a lifestyle for your own financial gain. It is a very good issue to explore. I just finished reading The House of My Mother about a month ago, so you can check out my review of that one there, but I know that Natalie really resembles the mom from the 8 Passengers story, and how she exploited her family and how she was very manipulative and just not true to herself the whole time. So these issues definitely do exist. For the rest of my review, I'm going to speak from personal experience because I am from Albania, which is a third world country, and I did live there for the beginning of my life. Every summer I would go to my grandparents' house in the village, and I would live that lifestyle where we grew our own food. We were in the middle of nowhere, and I had a great experience and I had a lot of fun. Obviously there's challenges that come up with that. There is a charm to that lifestyle, and there is something to be desired for that. Now in the story, Natalie was obviously not genuine and not true to herself, as well as what was going on around her. I think that's the main issue of the novel, not the trad wife lifestyle. Obviously it's not for everyone, and honestly was not for Natalie. If you have read the book, you know exactly what I'm talking about. She was constantly faking everything in her life just to get popular and just to get money, and that is not something that you should be doing. So anyways, I have been yapping for a long time. I'm not sure how much of this I'm gonna cut out. If you are looking for more of an in-depth review from a Christian perspective, just let me know in the comments. I am very willing to do that because I have so much I want to talk about. If you have read any of these other books, please share your thoughts in the comments below. I would really love to hear what you thought about any of them. If you haven't read any of these, please let me know what you're reading in the comments. I'm always looking for new recommendations. And until next time, bye.